Hello, this is Christina Wallis and welcome to my channel where we make awesome flowers out of cold porcelain or sugar. And today we are making daffodil. So this is Wallis Veiners Daffodil Set. I've used to make these daffodils. It's available for sale in my shop right now. You can find all the information in the description, including the 15% YouTube discount coupon, also in the description. And yeah, without further ado, let's get started on it. Because there will be loads of blending and tampering and texturing, I need to roll this one quite thick, and the clay here needs to be quite weathered. If it's brand new, it would stick everywhere like no tomorrow. So make sure that it's not brand new, and this one is Nivea. It's easy to cut without a fray using Nivea on your edges, especially if your cutter is quite thick as this one is, for stability. Make sure that you clear all the frays, and now even though the clay is not incredibly fresh, you still need to dry it for about 5 minutes or so. You need to figure out, because all clays and stages of freshness are different. And now that it's ready to go, I've cut the edges off so that the thinning of the edges is easy and the edges are fresh for blending. I'm putting a bit of water, not too much, and this is how I blend it. Starting from the middle, I found that the easiest. So with cold porcelain, it's important to do things in correct stages following the correct dryness. So first thing I do is blend the trumpet. I use a lot of Nivea and a little bit of water. Make sure you blend and seal your corners, the ends of this line really well, because they come apart much easier. And now I am stretching the skirt, which is where the initial thickness comes into it. If it's too thin, it would tear at this point, and here I forgot to seal the end really well. So here we go. Turn it out. That's the easiest way to do it, in my opinion, but there are as many ways to do it as there are people. I'm just showing you what I found to be working for me. So make sure this is dusted well, and now our main objective is to work on the trumpet bit, the outward bit of our flower. Use the softness of this silicone shape to peel it away from the cold porcelain or sugar, and not the other way around. And the next stage is to cut it off. I keep my scissors just underneath the texture line. I found that to be working the best for the natural outline. And now I'm doing a bit of work on internal seam, because it's still quite fleshy and not dry. And again, dust really well, and it goes inside. Now look at this. Do not clip another seam. You do not want a seam where there's no meant to be any seams, and work on your shape. This stage is quite relaxed. You can add as much or as little texture as you want. So this bit, you could have kind of made it slightly narrower shape to start with. I'm using a bit of fresh cold porcelain clay to repair it and any particular little holes or whatever. Okay, so the important thing to know about this part of daffodil is the height of your pistil and the thickness of your base, accounting for wire and the stamens, because no matter how pretty it is, if it doesn't fit deep enough into your trumpet, it's kind of a waste. You can always make it shorter or longer by cutting off bottom or the top and starting again, so don't worry too much about it, but make sure you check it all the steps of the way. With each stage of your making, you need to make sure the step is finished. before you move on to the next step. It sounds obvious, but a lot of people, including myself, often forget it and then curse and swear. And when it gets to little strands, don't roll them too long. They're much more manageable when they're kept short. And in traditional daffodil, they seem to, the stamens don't seem to go over the pistil. I personally quite like it when they go over, because when you photograph they kind of pick out quite nicely. But anyway, here we go. I flatten the ends to glue on nicer, and the top pointy bits, they need to be dried well for these bits, the green bits, to go on nicely, because otherwise they could go a little bit floppy. So in this set I have 3 petal veiners. 2 of them are for the top layer, just to introduce some variety, and 1 for the bottom. Here again I have quite a weathered clay that I'm using. The bottom has to go thick and the top needs to be quite thin. This is how I like it anyhow. And here we go. So this one goes for the bottom layer, this slightly heart-shaped cutter, and this one here goes for the top 3, the pear-shaped, shall we call it a pear-shaped. And here we go. Just stretch it out a bit, like so. And this heart-shaped one goes for the 3 bottom petals. And always thin your petals well. Here we go. So this is the top one. This petal, made from non-fresh clay, has been dried for about 5 minutes. Again, play around and see what works. And this is very important. Make sure you fill out whatever veiner you use, good or bad. Fill out all the crevices with your finger before you place the top on. If your clay is too fresh, then even a veiner like that is likely to tear it, so beware of that. And here we go, voila, nice definition. Make sure you shape it when it's still in the veiner. That would help natural, wonderful shape of your petals. And yes, I'm afraid for best results you do need to kind of cut down and probably work on most individual petals. In this case it's quite easy because we have not that many of them. To speed things up, I'm going to use the hated super glue for this next procedure, which is to secure this middle inside the trumpet so it doesn't get moved to one side while drying. And yeah, because that would look rubbish, wouldn't it? And at this point I'm going to fill up the bottom, and the best way to do it is probably to fill it up with tinted green clay as it grows into green at this particular stage, but it's up to you. So here we have my petals, including the spares. They're over dried for my liking, hard to glue on, I'm afraid, but you can shape them like this. This is great. And here are all this. So this is a top layer with little lines like this, and on your right is a bottom layer. Here we go, no lines. If I can, I try to attach my petals before they completely over dried. I mean, maybe then you would have to prop them up to dry in the correct position, but at least it's so much easier to actually attach them. But anyhow, you can attach them with thicker glue, and you have to make sure that they are in the right place. Sometimes when they look really symmetrical at the top, at the bottom, at the top they don't. So always, always, always check your top. If your petals are correct medium stage of dryness, you can disattach them and reattach them to place them in a perfect position. If they're too fresh, they may tear, and if they're too dry, they are very, very hard to manipulate and attach. Okay, so let's cover the important bits. You need to roll this as thin as you can so it gets as transparent as possible. The good thing would be to use a very kind of the clay that doesn't break. I've half mixed it with Modena, trying to use it all up, and it actually kind of made it break, which is not ideal because you really want to be able to manipulate it, squish it. Basically, you want to keep your clay here quite malleable, which Modena disallows, unfortunately. But anyhow, forgive the cracks that would appear. The next stage would be to use any kind of a suitable vein that you have, hopefully you do, to give it some lines, which you can then emphasize by running a dry brown brush over it or whatever. And at this point, again, you need to have a good balance between dry and not dry, so that your lines would appear and stay nice and pronounced, but your part isn't going to be torn by the veiner. That veiner is not mine, by the way. First, not mine on this video, and yeah, it needs to be quite soft. Harder veiners do tend to tear, and yeah, so you need to play around, have some spares, and then you can squish it. I'm not going to show you how to do the whole stem for this daffodil in this video because YouTube hates it when you make videos that are too long and people drop out. And plus, I would like to cover it in more detail, so I'm just going to show you the very top of it, and hopefully you will pop back in and see the rest of it next week. But for what it's worth, you need to keep your clay fresh and make sure that there is some glue on your wire to avoid cracks at the later manipulation of, you know, when you bend and do all of those things. And this is what you do to prettify your turtleneck. But anyway, so you attach your little scarfie just like so, and I've put enough glue to just kind of pull down some of this see-through bit and to make it into a bit of a turtleneck. Hopefully that makes sense.